they actually have like a meat cannon, and that's all I can think about right now.
So from your experience,
haven't.
people are interested in launching animals in an animal project.
Yeah, like deli meat.
Hello and welcome to What's on the Fourth Floor. I'm your host, Carter Walford, together with my co-hosts.
Taylor Billington.
And Joey Spont.
Who now? We have a new host.
A new
here
person.
A new
Host.
person.
Not featured on the first season at all.
Yep.
No.
Not featured on the About page of the website either. We'll fix that.
Hey, I'll take what I can get it. Just being here's enough.
You want to describe yourself?
Sure, I am male, 6 foot, Caucasian. I am a UNL student in the physics program. And I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, that's
It's an experience.
You know, as we all are, as the listeners are. We've got all the information we need. And we provideth the information unto the listeners. We're going to go ahead and open. I'd just like to bring up that we haven't made a podcast in several weeks now. So
Yeah,
if this is a...
it's been a little while.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't made one in 19 years.
Did
So.
we? Fair enough. If this is a bit rusty, our bad listeners, it'll have been 2 weeks without the listeners getting a new one. And it's been 3 weeks for us not making one.
Was
so
it 2 weeks or 1 week?
We're going to... Well, either way.
It's an amount of time.
It is some amount of time greater than 0 weeks. And so we're going to get back into this together, listeners. I would just like to... I'm going to open up with our first segment. What's with that? I've been thinking about... I'm going to try to stay not political here. We're going to... Listeners, we are talking about sort of structures in the void with no parties or people attached to them. I was thinking about presidential debates a while ago. And they don't really make sense to me, sort of how they're structured. So in a debate, you know, that gets televised or what have you, they ask the candidate some question about, I don't know, their tax bill or what have you. And they'll give them some amount of minutes to respond to the question or explain themselves. And this seems strange to me because any good tax bill or answer to any complex geopolitical question is going to be subtle and sort of nuanced and take a lot. Like a perfect tax bill to me is going to involve like a bunch of linear algebra or something to optimize everyone paying the right amount. And so giving someone only a few minutes to explain it is maybe not so great. And anyone who can explain their tax bill in just a minute or two is going to look good, but that's going to seem like to me, that seems like a shallow and bad tax bill. So what do you guys think of this sort of rigged setup to force simplicity on complex subjects?
I mean, they're trying to convey their ideas to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So if he just started spouting, just started spouting out like equations,
Yeah,
on TV, like that would make people not like him. I don't think.
Yeah, but at
Him.
the same time, it's like, yeah, you're trying to be simple, but I feel like the real issue is that, like, even the presidential candidates themselves don't necessarily always know, like, what they're talking about exactly, because you have to read up on stuff before you, like, sign anything. You can't, if you know everything going into the debate, well, good on you.
Yeah.
But that seems almost impossible, especially when you're going to such a big role, such as being the president of the U.S. of A.
Yeah, because they don't write the bills themselves.
Yeah, that does seem
That's a good
like
point.
a strange point, and where you have no access to facts while you're debating.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like debates should be, you know, they have fact checkers afterwards.
Yeah,
But
and you like get condemned if you
a
don't
debate
know something.
predicated on facts, you should be allowed to make sure of those facts while you're debating to sort of prove a point or what have you.
Yeah.
Especially since a lot of people probably don't watch the fact checking afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
The whole system seems very biased towards making things look simple and sort of, I don't know if not so much lying, but not really painting a whole picture of what's going on. It's very much a reality TV show. In that
Oh
this
yeah,
isn't-
definitely.
This isn't actually these people's lives. This isn't actually what happens when you're the president or whatever. But we're making this sort of short, fun, entertaining thing for people to watch.
All right, so Carter, if they took away the current system they have now, do you have any ideas of what you would do to replace it?
That's the problem, because you need to sort of have a system that is watchable, because you want a lot of people to be informed on these things. I think prepared sort of responses to one another where you write it out and you have a lot of time to prepare it, but you have maybe a day or two in between responses, and it's sort of like almost as if they're emailing each other back and forth and having an argument, but you have a sort of very long time. I haven't thought about this too much, but something like this, where you have time to think of the proper response and also edit it down to something digestible by the...
So, do you think it should be a little bit more like our court system? Because I know in the courts, like, you can't bring any like surprise evidence. Like, if I have a piece,
Oh,
about,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
a
yeah.
murder,
Yes,
you cannot bring
that
it
sounds...
in. So you can say like, "Hey, Mr. Other President Candidate, I am going to tell you about blankety blank."
These are things that we're going to talk about. Get ready. Because, when you're the president, you're going to get ready for things.
You don't get ready as the president. I think that's our first issue.
So that does sound like a good system.
I think that sounds better than what it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except, so are you saying that they would do this over like a week or a couple weeks or whatever, and then the televised version would be like a supercut of all of their responses?
Yeah, something could be like that. There's a lot of ways to do this. You could have sort of pundits commentating during it, so you could have maybe even like different news sources have their own pundits, and they all have their own commentary section on what the candidates talked about or what have you. But, I just think there's a lot of better systems than what we have right now, and I don't know if they could get changed. That would seem like it would be a hard process.
Something that wouldn't happen anytime soon.
But I am aggravated at the theory of political debates at the moment. But let's move on to something a bit less political, and talk about something that is also political. I was wondering about in my room this morning, what is the official procedure if a fictional character wins the presidential election?
Oh, like how 4% of the population votes for Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse or what have you. And it's sort of like, what would actually happen if Mickey Mouse won the popular vote or won,
I think they would just have another vote.
I feel like the Electoral College, that would be their first time being like, "Hey, whoa, guys, whoa, we're not doing this."
This is what the sort of Electoral College is set for, is if the populace votes for something ridiculous, they can say, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, because the Electoral College would not.
But that should just sort of pushes the question on. And I could not find an answer to this part. The first question is, of course, the Electoral College will take care of it. But the second question is, what if the Electoral College votes for Mickey Mouse?
Do they have that do they have a write-in option?
From what I can gather, they are allowed to write in whatever they want. They're allowed to choose whoever they want.
Okay.
And, you sort of can't be punished for making a wrong decision on your presidential election.
Not explicitly.
Yeah, the people in the Electoral College can't. A lot of states have rules against unfaithful electors. Like, so if you did not say Mickey Mouse after the public asked you to, you might get punished. But you cannot be punished for following the public opinion.
Okay.
And
but isn't there a way, like, they have, you remember in, like, the Republican and Democratic, I always see on TV, they have to accept their bid or whatever? Like, how would a fictional character even do that?
Yeah.
Unless they made another TV episode saying, like, I hereby accept the...
Whoever has rights to the fictional character, I suppose.
There's an episode of a TV show that a lot of us who watch the podcast called Black Mirror, the Waldo episode. Are you?
I am very familiar with that.
Familiar with that episode. In this episode of Black Mirror, a sort of it is a fictional character, but can you help me explain it? It's like there is a comedian controlling it
so
one
his
to one.
Voice and thoughts are behind it,
Mm-hmm.
but it is still being run by a full team with like we said, fact checkers in the background at all times.
Which
I have not seen this episode.
Yeah, so we're gonna leave Taylor out of this for a second.
Okay.
But
spoilers.
It's fine.
It seems to me like if you had a fictional character win the presidential election, the sort of Waldo solution makes sense to go to whoever has written what this fictional character says. They are now the president or what have you. This is, of course, an absurd situation to find ourselves in, so it's probably not going to happen. We're kind of postulating about a non-issue. But it seems like the solution to this non-issue is that the writer or whoever controls what this fictional character says.
It seems like the right solution, but if you've seen the episode, it ended up just being Waldo himself.
Mm-hmm.
He went on to do international stuff in the end.
Yeah, and Waldo is sort of controlled by a large aggregate of different
Waldo
people.
himself went on to
Yeah, the guy.
Not himself, because it's just like a little
Mhm.
like controlled thing, like if you had a VR headset type deal and we're moving it around.
The original guy
Okay.
who was the voice of Waldo sort of got phased out and stopped being Waldo.
He had
Okay.
differing opinions
hmm
with air quotes.
And so the Waldo episode made me think that it is not even that absurd. You know, Mickey Mouse gets 4% of whatever vote or whatever percentage.
is it
It's not
4%?
4%. It's a really small amount,
I thought it was 4%.
but it's not absurd to think that something like this might, maybe not for a whole presidential election, but maybe for like a Congress chair. You hear of towns with like dogs for mayors.
Oh yeah.
And so I could see this becoming an issue. I mean, not a major issue.
It could be an issue at some point,
Mhm. And
and someone's gonna need to figure it
it
out.
is an issue that maybe no one has thought about. It's like there is no procedure, and that's what I was wondering. If
I
this
feel like
is,
there'd be a bit of a build up leading
Yeah.
up to it beforehand.
if this is such an absurd premise, is there a procedure to take care of the
I
situation?
feel like if we got to that point, it'd be more people just not voting than actually writing it in.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah, because what is it, like 50% of the population still doesn't vote
mhm.
It's
in the
around
presidential election?
And
Something like that.
It is as if that 50% you sort of wanted to voice their disdain or not caringness for the election and voted for someone, a fictional character.
50% of the vote goes to Mickey Mouse.
Goes to Mickey Mouse.
It just defaults to whoever they vote. They spin a wheel for it.
But yeah, it would probably be, there are other factors involved. It would go to like the Senate. I know if you're in a situation where no one can get over half the electors, it goes to the House or Senate, one or the other, or maybe both. And if it goes to the House first, if there's a tie there, it goes to the Senate.
This is why we're physics
So
students.
eventually,
we don't know politics enough.
Eventually someone will say, no, we are not electing Mickey Mouse. But maybe. What if everyone agrees?
Claire
You know?
is sitting in the room and she's making faces at the things
Yeah,
that we're
apparently
saying,
Claire
so
knows a
I
lot
think
more
she
about
does know.
this. Well, there you go.
I don't know if that got picked up, but she said something.
Claire is aggravated at our ignorance, as are maybe some of the listeners.
Maybe she can trash
So,
talk us on the next episode.
We can maybe move on from flaunting our lack of knowledge about these things. I often talk about on the podcast the books I'm listening to at the time. I've talked about Algorithms to Live By a few times. I am now listening to, or have been listening to, a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by David Kahneman, and it's sort of about human thinking and biases and whatnot. And I'm going to pose a question to my two co-hosts, and it doesn't really matter what your answers are. It's sort of just where your gut instinct goes, because I'm going to then say what most people say to these questions. So say a disease has taken hold of Lincoln, and there are 1,000 people infected, and you can give them a choice of 2 medicines. And one medicine will have a 100% chance of having 200 people live through the disease. And the other medicine will give a 1/3 chance of 600 people living through the disease. These, if you take a second to do the math, these are, the expected utility of these things is the same. On average, you get 200 people living in both cases. But which, sort of from your gut, which one would you choose?
Well, the 1/3 for 600 people.
The 1/3 for 600 people?
That's what I was thinking.
You would choose? That's interesting, because most people, when asked this question, go for the sure thing. They want 200 people to live every time. But then if you rephrase the question and say you have a 100% chance of having 800 people die, and a 2/3 chance, or a 2/3 chance of everyone dying, and a 1/3 chance of 400 people dying. When you rephrase it, this is the exact same question, and when you rephrase it like this, most people go for the gamble in the second case. When you're faced with only bad options, you're more willing to gamble with those options than if you are posed with good options. Which is, it makes me sort of think, and I went along with the public on this one. I thought, don't gamble in the first case, do gamble in the second case. And this sort of makes me wonder about, decision making and rationality. There's another question where it's like, you ask people if they want the poor to have tax cuts for having children, but then you also have to ask the same people if the poor should pay a premium for not having children, like a tax premium. This is the exact same question, but they will answer in different ways to both. And so it makes me wonder about the rationality of people and whether we can actually. I try to not be manipulated by things that are said to me, but it cannot happen. So, do you guys, in your daily lives, really scrutinize things and make sure that you're not sort of being misled by wording? Or, I guess, does this make you worry about being manipulated?
I took like an AP psychology class in high school. And so we had like a little section where we talked about how research is like difficult to do with test subjects because it really depends on how you frame the questions that you ask them, which is pretty much what you're saying. Like how you phrase things will influence people's answers. So I don't know, like in professional cases, people try and not influence people's answers with the wording. And that whole lesson just made me think about that.
Okay.
I'm in the same boat because I also took a psych class, and ever since then, I like started to worry when I took it. I'm like, oh my god, my entire life is a lie. People have told me what to do. I am not a person. But then, sure enough, afterwards, I'm just like, okay, everyone is being influenced just as much as me, so I'm still myself. But it's like, at the same time, I just know it's happening all around me. Like with the way people phrase stuff, like.
Yeah,
when
like
you ask like people to do things, you say, "Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to come?" Instead of, "Hey, do you want to do this?" It's just better influence for them to actually like hang out or do whatever you're gonna do. Or all the other techniques of like what is it, the foot in the door and the door in the face. Like I just think about, oh, this is what's happening. Should I just play along? And like I make a bit more, I don't know, not necessarily rational decisions, but I guess I think about it. Then afterwards, I'm like, oh, did I make the right decision?
yeah, I think it showed like this like critical thought in the sense of wording comes up for me the most when I'm like at a store and you see like, oh, here's the deal, but like some kind of coupon deal or like a sales deal, but then you got to think like, well, what's the store has to be getting something out of this,
Yeah, so-
like by selling me this product for this amount or in this way, there has to be something that they're getting out of it that I just don't see.
It's like you could theoretically just sell it at this price all the time
Yeah.
if
Or
you're
like-
making money off of it right now.
I worked in retail for a little bit, and we sold soaps, and the deal was you get 5 for $5, and so people would buy 5 soaps, and they'd be like, "Oh, I got 5 of them for $5." You could buy 1 soap for $1 at any time. So, I don't know, stuff like that. Like, I was gotta think about it.
This reminds me, there was a chain of some retailer, and I can't remember which, so I'm just going to say Target. There was like a sub-chain of Target that they opened stores, and it was sort of, they did away with all of the mental manipulation of like sales and whatnot, and they marketed themselves as just, this is as cheap as we can sell these things, legitimately. You are getting sort of the factually the best deal here. And it failed miserably. No one wants to go and just actually have the best prices. They want to feel like they're winning all the time, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
And when you were talking about sort of the foot in the what was it?
Foot in the door,
face,
door in
foot in
the
the door,
face.
door in the face. I haven't heard
A
of
foot in the
this.
door is like where you ask someone like a small thing, like, "Hey, can you quick grab me a banana for my smoothie I'm making?" And then next I'll say, "Hey, can you watch my kids for a week?" Even though I don't have kids, but that's kind of the foot in the door. But then the door in the face is like, "Hey, can you help me move my furniture this weekend?" I'm like, "Oh, well, can you at least give the envelope I left over there?" So kind of just like
Yeah,
you
like
do
you-
a big decision and then a small decision.
Yeah, foot in the door is like you ask them smaller and like small things at first that gradually increase to like the larger thing that you wanted to ask them, and then door in the face is like, hey, here's this ridiculous thing that I know you don't want to do. Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, how about this other thing that's a lot easier?
Okay, so it's like getting people to either way, it is sort of manipulating people to get something to do something
Yeah.
for you.
I think foot in the door is a more common practice, at least in like businesses.
Door in the face makes more sense to me, though. It seems like foot in the door is like, I've done so many things for you. No, I will not do this large thing for you in the end.
Yeah, kind of like a guilt trip type deal.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well.
Okay. With that, we are about out of time for our first segment. It's been a pleasure getting back and connecting with you listeners, and we'll be back in a few minutes with segment 2. And welcome back to segment 2, What's in the News? That's not the segment name. I'm gonna try again. Carson, if you're
Please leave
listening,
this in.
don't leave this. And welcome back to segment 2 in the news. And our first news article is going to be brought up by our fresh new host. What do you got
Fresh.
for us?
Mine is more so of a news article, but I was thinking about the fact of claiming land on Mars. So we all know that the people who are going to get to Mars is definitely not going to be a country. It'll be some private entity, whether it be Mr. Musky, the Bose company, or what is it? Not the Bose. What's
Boeing?
the
Boeing.
plane? Boeing. Yes.
Mhm.
So I was curious, if he were to get to Mars first, would he have full legal rights to just
This
claim the
is
entire
Mr.
planet?
Musky. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Musky.
Okay.
Totally unrelated to Elon Musk. Because if you think about it, what really claims ownership? Obviously, the Outer Space Treaty said that no nation can claim another like extraterrestrial rock or something. So an asteroid, a moon, Mars. But if a private person were to go, could they just simply build a road and then get all the land around it? What do you guys think? Do you guys think
Build a road? Like,
well, because in
like
legal
they go up
precedent,
there and
I forget what the actual article is, but if it's around 3 kilometers around your road, if you have control of it, you get that land.
does
if
that
it-
count in space?
That's what I'm curious about. Does it count in space?
Yeah, I think it almost has to. Well, first of all, I think the legal precedent almost doesn't matter because it's going to come to a situation where Elon Musk might claim parts of Mars, and then who's going to stop him? You know, you have to go to Mars first to
Mhm.
dispute that claim. So, I think it is completely legitimate if a private company claims some part of land.
What do you feel is like the point where like should he claim the land or should he like because you can't put it with a nation, so you have no
Mhm.
backing. Like if someone were to come in with the military, he's donezo. But then he has 20.5 billion dollars, around 20.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure. So would you rather him do that, or do you think he should just not claim it at all and just have it be as like public domain, quote unquote?
I think the best sort of incentive structure is to have it public domain, because then no one wants to sort of ruin Mars, because we're all trying to keep it nice for each other. It's like if a private company starts claiming parts of Mars, it is not unreasonable to think they'll start, dumping nuclear waste on other parts of Mars that they didn't claim.
I guess so. But now I've just found out there's this website. It's called mars.sale/claim. You can claim land on Mars.
Oh.
There you
This
go.
is a big scam here, people.
Yeah.
But you can get land choice for only 395 European pounds, which is approximately $500.
It's like who gave these people, the
Well, have
the
you
land
ever
in the
seen like
first
the
place?
buying a star and
That's
naming
just
it?
what I was
Yeah.
about to bring up.
I think it's exactly like that. And
Like,
do you
there's-
actually get the star? Do we know this?
Did they
I-
like bring it to you? I wish they didn't. Just for self-preservation, do not deliver stars.
I've never looked into it, but I was just assumed that was like a feel-good scam, because there's no way
Mhm.
that you.
But is that really a scam? If you're feeling good about it, if
I
you're
mean-
happy, have you been scammed?
It doesn't matter how you feel if they're taking your money and not giving you anything. I guess the product of this would be
Mhm.
feeling
It's like
good.
I go to a
but
movie, I give them money, and I don't get to keep anything. There's no permanent.
you keep the
But
memories
it's an
of the movie.
experience.
And then I
So,
keep
like,
for a
okay.
star, I keep the knowledge that I own a star.
But that movie thing is all like a vacation in the same terms. You spent $2,000 on vacation. You didn't get to keep anything except
Mhm.
maybe like the little sand you got from Florida, in your
the
little
little
bottle.
jar. Yeah.
In a little mason jar you filled up. It's like, oh, it's so sentimental. When you could just get sand in your local lake or beach or whatever, and it's the exact same sand.
Mm,
You don't think so?
it would look different. Sand
I
doesn't all
guess.
look
And if
the
we
same.
had Mars sand, it would be
there's
quite
some
different.
there's some like really nice sand that's like ultra fine and soft. You
And
just
then
wanna
there's,
put
like,
your whole hands in it
Gross lake
Can't you
sand.
just make that though?
by like crushing up.
Like,
Rocks and
Would
stuff.
you want to spend your time making sand, or would you rather buy it?
I'd rather just pick it up.
Yeah,
from the
pick it
ground.
up. Pick it up from the ground. But you'd have to go there.
What do you think the sand
it
on
up.
Mars is like? Is it nice? Would I want
No,
to
it's
plunge
probably
my
rough.
hand?
From the time I've been there, it's been
it was lovely.
I would imagine it's like not all very even, so it'd be all
Well, it's like
different textured
Mhm.
and unpleasant to touch.
there's a lot of rust on Mars, isn't it? Isn't that why it's red?
Oh, there's just iron. It's not necessarily
Iron.
rust.
Well, okay, iron. Fair. So I imagine it being not nice. I can't imagine iron deposits.
And I know
particularly
you guys
soft.
mentioned this about like the nuclear waste. I was thinking about like pollution. Have you guys have heard like one of the solutions to like making Mars livable is like to fill the air with greenhouse gases
Mhm.
to like trap heat. Would
Mhm.
they, when they talk about that, are they talking about like polluting the place almost to get the greenhouse gases in there?
I have not read into this at all. I don't know.
I imagine it would be sort of really potent greenhouse gases like methane or something, but maybe not methane. Maybe there's an even
I
better
feel like
one.
that would kill us.
Yeah. So I don't know all the particulars of it.
That'd be real interesting though. Take pollution to Mars, people.
hmm
That's where we need it.
There's sort of the Earth pollution, or maybe like garbage problem of just shooting it into space, and space is so big that it can be a massive dumpster. What do we all think of that
Bad idea.
approach?
Why is it a bad idea?
We will spread our bacteria across the universe, and it'll colonize other planets, and then come back.
hmm
What
And
if that's
take
what we
over us.
are?
I have thought about that. It could
We're
be.
garbage.
We are just straight. This is where all
We're
our
another
self-esteem
species
comes from.
space garbage.
Origin of life solved here on What's on the Fourth Floor.
Right, because don't people like theorize that it was like meteors that came in and
There's
like
a lot of theories, but
deposited stuff? What if it was just a bunch of space trash from another?
Deposited bacteria on Earth. I'm on board. I want this. It's the UFO posters that say I want to believe. This is what I want to believe.
We're just space.
I'd rather not
garbage.
believe we're just space trash, but I can see it.
Shooting it into the sun, as childish as that sounds, is like a really good solution.
Because it just gets rid of it.
Yeah, you could shoot literally anything into the sun, and it's like atom level vaporization, and it doesn't matter what it was.
Oh.
But apparently, shooting things into the sun is really hard. Like,
Why
to
is
hit
that? I
it.
saw that, like, I've seen those headlines, but I've always thought it was like you can't get to the sun because it's so hot or something. Like, what is?
It is really hard to have a proper trajectory that will cause it to crash into the sun rather than to just enter an orbit.
Oh, because it'd have to be going fast enough.
Yeah,
Oh,
To
you would have to
go straight to
you
the
would
sun
have to
instead
get whatever you're shooting fast enough to get to the sun in some reasonable amount of time, but then you need to slow it down so that it falls into the sun rather than just orbiting it,
of. Mm-hmm.
which is, quite the task.
Yeah,
Apparently.
just for some trash.
So we need a sort of, I want to say geostationary, but I guess it'd be solar stationary orbiter around the sun that just collects garbage and fires it in. But Mr. Musky, I suppose if we want to get back to what we were talking about,
he'd
Yeah,
probably just
loop
use
back
trash
to the-
cans on Mars and claim them for himself.
he'd claim the trash as well. He's got a plan for everything, honestly.
He does. He's like, I need a car. Oh, make my own company. I need a new bank. Makes his own company.
I need a car on Mars.
I'd never trust Elon Musk to like ask a favor of me because I'd be like, what billion-dollar company are you going to get with this? If I bring you this banana for your smoothie, what am I going to get out of it? Because I know you're going to make like $1 million.
Hey, say you're being a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of loops back to the store discussion. Like, what are you getting out of giving me this sale? What is Elon Musk
it's
getting
like,
out
I'm
of
very
a banana?
suspicious. Elon Musk has suspiciously good sales all the time.
Well, didn't he have he had like a business major as well, or minor?
Didn't
Something.
he? Elon Musk wrote the platform for PayPal, didn't he?
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard
what I
that,
saw when
yeah.
I mentioned like a bank. It was like he created PayPal, sold it, made Tesla, kept it, bought Mars, kept it.
He bought
Built
Mars.
cars.
Hey, it's $395 for land
shot
choice.
him into space.
He could probably buy
Is that
all
how
of
big
Mars.
of a piece of land is that?
It's 25 to 100 square kilometers.
So we could calculate like what is all of Mars worth to this scam company.
Well, according to them, there was a free section for the early birds, so it technically is free.
You got it.
Yep.
This company is on Mars, and they have like a military force to enforce these land claims that they're selling.
I love this too
Little known
because
fact.
they have suggestions for plots of land I should take, and they always end them with beautiful lower south-facing slopes of Pavonius Mons. It's about the southwest corner, about 113 degrees with about 10 minutes west. I'm just like, what? How do you know what it looks like?
Yeah.
Have you been there? Oh, goodness. These celestial
There is the
sails.
possibility that it isn't a scam and that they are actually selling
They
plots
have-
of
This is
land
the
on
next
Mars.
Bitcoin people
Do they
invest.
have a virtual tour that I can take that I can like walk around a bit?
Google Mars.
Wait a second.
It's actually Google.
It says
up on
Saturn. I can
Mars.
also buy parts of Saturn and moons and Jupiter, but they are sold out. So
Why would you want to buy part of Saturn? You can't go there.
it says and moons.
Okay.
so-
I can see a moon.
But these are all sold out. They're approximately $15 to buy a moon.
Sold out. Who bought that?
Wait, you buy the whole moon?
I don't know.
Nice. That's value. So that some of Saturn's moons, have the potential for life on them.
Some of
Mhm.
them have water.
Some
don't
of them
they?
have water.
So, they say they've like found water. Is like do they have actually? They've just theorized it, right? From with like what they've seen on the planet.
I think
I
that it's
think
like we have good
so.
reason to believe there is
Yeah.
water, is what they're saying when they found water.
Yeah.
But say you're an organism on one of Saturn's moons and you find out that some guy
Bought.
Bought-
Musky.
your entire planet for you
Without
for
asking.
you for $15. Elon Musk owns your planet now.
He would own a lot of planets if they were $15.
That would be his number one use of his money. He just buys all the planets.
I would
Yeah,
like to
I
buy
own
the
the
galaxy.
universe.
So, does Elon Musk? Has Elon Musk shot his Roadster into
I
space
don't think
yet?
so.
I think that's the next launch. It's
That's
like
the
the
next
Falcon
launch?
9 Heavy or something.
Okay.
When's that?
Let's check out. It's loaded into the shovel.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I've seen
fact
pictures of
checker.
it like
We're
in
weekly.
the shuttle, or at least before they close it off. But
Does that qualify as a satellite?
the car,
Yeah, the car.
Yeah.
I guess is it
I think
like
so.
planned to
Well,
orbit
satellite
something?
isn't that just something that's like
It's just
satellite's
anything
a
that's
man-made
orbiting.
orbiting. Oh no, I
Mhm.
just think it's you're right. Just anything orbiting another
yeah.
Well, there you
body.
go.
So
So he could market this as just sort of I'm launching a new satellite.
Well, it says later this month for launch date. So later
That's-
in January 2018.
honestly, sooner than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I had no idea in my mind when that would happen. I just assumed it would happen like a month or two out. But if it's happening this month,
So the
it might have happened by the time this podcast comes out.
the news is that the wacky adventures. I guess we could rename segment 2 to the wacky adventures of Mr. Musky. Honestly,
Musky.
for as much as we
Mr.
talk about him
Musky.
and the things he does.
That's because he's always in the news. Because he's the one that's always trying to do stuff. I just feel like we need more people. Like you had what is it? I don't know why. Boeing? Yes, it's Boeing. I don't know why.
Bose.
Bose.
I think Bo is my head. I feel like
Bose
they're the
sends
only one
speakers
else.
to Mars.
Like I don't know. I don't feel like there's enough competition right now that there should be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, it's not that hard
Compete
to
in
shoot
this
something
industry.
up. You know, you're gonna get there.
It's gotta be fast. It's
If
That's it.
NASCAR is a sport, we can send stuff straight up
I want-
fast.
Yeah.
NASCAR's into space, around Mars,
I want to, yeah.
road track around Mars.
I feel like
the
they could
race.
just drive on Mars.
Okay, yeah.
Would Elon Musk win?
Would you need to? I don't know if you need a road. You can just go around it. They could have like floating like lights, and you have to go in between them. Or rings.
That reminds me
Like-
of
like-
the Back to the Future, the Skyways. You
Yeah.
remember those?
I've only seen parts of these
You have
movies.
not seen Back to the Future. Have
I've
you
seen
Back
parts
to the
of
Future?
all
I've
of
seen
them.
parts of Back to the Future as well.
Back to the Future 2, when they start, because you've always heard the quotes like, "Well, we're going, we don't need roads," and
Yep.
then he flies off,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then he goes to the back or in the future into 2015, which was 3 years ago, and they're driving cars in the sky through the skyways instead of highways.
Skyways.
The
Okay.
listeners probably know.
Get on it, Elon Musk. All right, we need
Skyways around
skyways.
Mars.
Stop going to Mars. Oh, I guess they could be skyways on Mars. Thinking.
Donking.
I mean, we don't have any cars orbiting the Earth,
Soon
so
we will.
Well, Musk's Roadster is going. Is it going to Mars? I forget. It's going to orbit Mars.
mhm.
Okay. Well, if we're done talking about the wacky adventures of Mr. Musky,
Musky.
I have another news article entitled. This is on BBC News, entitled "Serious Gap in Cosmic Expansion Rate Hints at New Physics." And new physics, cosmic expansion rate, new physics, serious gap. These are some of my favorite words to find in physics. So apparently, there are several different ways of measuring the Hubble constant, which is like the cosmological constant. It's sort of it's the explanation as to why the universe is expanding and accelerating expansion and all of this. And the sort of older value of the Hubble constant is around 73.24. I mean, I should be more specific. A team headed by Professor Reese of Johns Hopkins University did an experiment to re-measure the Hubble constant. and they got around 73.24, which is not very different. That's about what it has been established to be. And they apparently, they use a method of measuring this called cosmic ladder, where you sort of look at objects we know about, like we know how far away this quasar is and how bright it is, and you sort of use all these kinds of known values to calculate the Hubble constant. But there are other ways of doing it, such as using like the cosmic microwave background radiation and whatnot. And when you use these methods of measuring it, you get different enough values for it to be sort of disconcerting. You get like 9 or 10% off.
Okay.
And the secondary values that are different are approaching certainties, where we're like, these aren't just mistakes in our measurements anymore. These are legitimate. Like
Something's changing.
Something is different here. And this isn't in the article. This is just sort of my theorizing. But it could be that when you're looking at things farther away, well, the pattern is that when you use things farther away, you get the lower values, and when you look at things closer, you get the higher value of the Hubble constant. And
is that true?
It seems as if that's the pattern in this article.
I thought it was the opposite. Okay.
It seems as if you could maybe guess that
no,
longer ago the Hubble constant was lower and it is increasing.
So it's not a constant.
So yeah, and that's sort of the
Okay.
what an interesting thing is, that you sort of you think of these constants of natures as set values that do not change over time, but then we are measuring this one to change, and it is at 3 sigma, these altered values, which is on the order of, if you flip a coin 9 times and hit heads every time, it's like something's kind of, you start wondering. Once you have 5 sigma, that's like what we call certainty. So 3 sigma is coming on disconcerting results.
Okay.
And so that's just sort of the background. There is a theory of why this is happening, that involves, dark matter behaving a bit differently than what we suspect in the early universe, and another theory where there is a new flavor of neutrinos. I think flavor is actually the official term for like different types.
It
of
is the
neutrinos.
official term. I just always, because I remember reading about it, I'm like, wow, that is a great
I did not
name.
know that.
And the proposed new flavor of neutrino would be called. Well, first of all, I want you guys this is what my question was going to be after this. If you're going to introduce a new flavor of neutrino, what would be your naming scheme? We currently have electron, mu, and tau. Naming things on what's on the 4th floor has been a nice theme. So go ahead and think of your own names for the new flavor of neutrinos. And it is a sterile neutrino, is the word I was looking for.
Sterile.
Oh, and
Sterile.
you gotta name it clean then.
Sterile neutrino.
If it's sterile, you gotta name it the clean
You wanna-
neutrino.
So sterile neutrino is what they proposed it should be called, so you just want to go directly against, or I guess sterile
That would be sterile and clean. It's just,
sterile and clean.
it's a lot easier to remember. And I
A
like
clean
what is it? The
neutrino.
quarks they have strange and charmed, which are the easiest to remember.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's up, was it up, down? It's not
Strange
left,
charm, top and bottom.
top and bottom. Like, see, I forget the top and bottom because
Mhm.
you forget them. But if you have like a nice word, like I like the word clean, and if
Clean
they think it's
neutrino.
sterile, no, you gotta go it's clean.
It's the clean neutrino.
Did they explain
This article didn't
yeah.
have the reasoning behind
Okay.
sterile, but I like the other electron. Electron is sort of out, but mu and tau are both just Greek letters, so I could see like what's my favorite Greek letter? I think
You're in Greek, right?
I am in Greek. I don't know, maybe a zeta neutrino, just because that's a fun word to
Zeta.
say.
And it'd be different. Like that's the thing. You get stuff starting to mix up when you start using like variables. Like you use mu a lot for like if you're
Mhm.
doing physics problems. You think, oh, that's something to do with friction or something, because that's what coefficient of frictions. But if you use like
Muon.
zeta, what else is that used for? Oh, do you know?
I can't
Okay.
think of anything off the top of my head, which is a point for the zeta neutrino, because there would be less mix-up.
I think I'm on Team Clean,
Team clean.
honestly.
It was a good idea. It was better than mine. I will abdicate to Team Clean. So, listeners, clean neutrino coming to a universe near you. And with that, we're out of time for our second segment. Join us in a few minutes for a round of trivia. welcome back to What's on the Fourth Floor, where we're going to be dropping some mad trivia on our listeners today, and my co-hosts. I'm, of course, going to be leading up this section of trivia, and our topic for today is going to be strange paper topics and dissertations. Co-hosts, I'm going to pose to you 3 paper topics, and 2 of them are going to be real, and 1 will be fake. 2 will be real papers that someone has written somewhere. 1 is a made-up fake topic. So let's just jump into it.
I want to say real quick, I divulged some knowledge that I have on the subject and got a question changed, and I'm bitter about it.
Taylor,
She probably knows a lot more still.
definitely knew one of these and would have gotten it right if she wouldn't have told everyone she already knew it.
I didn't think it was on the list.
So I think it's only fair to then start with Taylor as well.
Okay.
Being bitter as she is, we'll give her the first shot to make up for it. So Taylor is sword swallowing and its side effects, wrinkling an elastic sheet under tension, or experimental extrapolations of shrew-based projectiles. Which one's the fake of these 3 paper topics?
Okay, sword swallowing, and the benefits,
And its side effects.
and its side effects.
Benefits.
The second one sounds real.
Benefits could be side effects.
Side effects.
know?
The outcomes. What was the second one was wrinkling?
Wrinkling an elastic sheet under tension.
That sounds like something of material
There's some
science.
nerd is sitting around with elastic sheets
Yeah.
and wrinkling them up.
Some like material engineering or something would probably do that. The last one is shrew.
Experimental extrapolations of shrew-based projectiles.
You know, I believe. I think that.
Oh yeah?
Just
Talk us through.
I think that the last
you're
one
thinking.
is a real, and I think this because in my senior year of high school, I wasn't in a statistics class.
There
I
you
wasn't
go.
in it, but someone in the class that I knew did a project for the class, and that project was the optimal brand and size of meat as a projectile from a
Okay.
catapult.
Have you ever seen Meet the Robinsons? As a whole, they actually have like a meat cannon, and that's all I can think about right now.
So from your experience,
haven't.
people are interested in launching animals
Weird
and
shaped-
animal projects.
Yeah, like deli meats and projectiles. So I'm gonna go with sword swallowing and its side effects.
That is your answer for the fake paper topic.
Yes.
You are incorrect. It was the experimental extrapolations of shrew-based projectiles.
Man.
Your friend in statistics or whatever it was, he really threw you off. He ruined you on this one.
Okay.
Question 2 for Joey.
Ready?
We have, which one of these 3 paper topics is not real? Viagra aids jet lag recovery in hamsters. Consequences of erudite vernacular utilized irrespective of necessity.
Bless you.
Or the ecological repercussions of the dehydration of mutant tadpoles.
See, I feel like mutant tadpoles, that's too generic to be a paper. So am I trying to figure out the real one?
You're trying to figure out the fake one.
Oh, the fake one? Okay. Now this is a double
It's like-
whammy, because I thought that was...
Were 2 of these real?
So, the second one, I have no idea what you said. What was the first one?
The first one was Viagra aids jet lag recovery in hamsters.
Jet lag? Really?
I
Did
can
someone really do that?
I can repeat the second paper topic.
Do
as
it
well.
like syllable by syllable. for me. This-
Consequences
Consequences?
of erudite vernacular utilized irrespective of necessity.
Because I don't know all those words, I'm gonna go with that's the real
You
one.
think that's the real one? Unfortunately, I think someone was trying to really get flavor points in their paper topic. That is real. The fake one was the ecological repercussions of the dehydration of mutant frogs.
I just
or
want to point
tadpoles,
out that you
excuse me.
picked which one you thought was real and not which one you thought was fake.
Oh no!
So
What was the fake one?
the fake one was the ecological repercussions of the dehydration of mutant tadpoles.
Okay.
Oh,
Is that
dang.
what you would have chosen? for the
Nah,
fake
it doesn't
one?
matter.
Yeah, it
now. I
doesn't
picked the
matter.
one I thought was real. I don't get the point either way.
Point.
You'll sit at 0 points and because you got it wrong, I'm gonna go -1 point for Taylor because she knew how the game worked.
I think not
yeah.
knowing how the game works is worse than knowing how it works and doing it honestly.
Okay. We'll have a debate section about this later
Okay.
off recording because these points matter so much.
They do.
We can talk this over at a later date.
This is my social standing in life. I
Yeah.
need these points, guys. Come on now.
So moving back to Taylor, 3 paper topics as always. We have fragmentation of rods by cascading cracks, why spaghetti does not break in half.
Okay.
Ultrasonic velocity in cheddar cheese as affected by temperature. Just let that sink in for a second. You know what that paper's about. And the social significance of donut holes. Which of these 3 paper topics
Can you say the first one again?
is made up? It is fragmentation of rods by cascading cracks, why spaghetti does not break in half. I love any paper topic with a colon in it. You know, I think all titles, any good title has a colon. That's just a personal rule.
See, I can't determine whether the colon makes it more believable or less believable.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way.
It's someone trying to make up a paper topic might.
I think I know. I respect the third one, the donut hole one, but
I think the third one is probably real. Don't make sound. Don't do
I
that.
might not pick that one.
Okay. The second one, supersonic velocity of cheese based on temperature.
Cheddar cheese.
Just to not be biased, it is actually ultrasonic velocity of cheddar
Ultrasonic.
cheese, as affected by temperature.
I'm gonna go with that one
You
as
think
the
that's-
fake.
That's the fake.
That's the fake.
I think the statistics of these situations are unreal. We always never get one right in our trivias. That is not the fake. The fake was the social significance of donut holes.
No.
And this is a running theme on What's on the Fourth Floor.
Dang.
We never get any right.
Yeah.
Which is, even if we're just guessing randomly, surely we should get one right eventually. But
I really
we
thought
are
the donut hole
aggressively poor at trivia.
My favorite not getting it right is from the first. I think it was the first one when both Ethan and Claire put in their own guesses and didn't get it right on all 3 of them,
Mhm.
and there were only 3 options.
Yeah, we hit like 1 out of 3s repeatedly. Moving on to our, I think that's.
I know what I'm
towards 0
doing now,
points.
so
We're all clear on the rules of
I'm picking the
trivia
fake
section.
one. I got it.
Okay. Well, here are your options then to pick from. Coordination modes in the multi-segmental dynamics of hula hooping. Investigation of the scientific validity of the 5-second rule. And in the Journal of Experimental Zoology, insect debris and automobiles. Which one is...
So the second one's about the validity of the 5-second rule.
Yes.
The first one is about hula hooping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let me say. So the 3 that we've had faked are about tadpoles, donut holes. What was the first one?
True-based projectiles.
All right, so that throws off everything I was thinking.
You were going off of like a
I was
Dr.
trying to see
Seuss
like
rhyme
was she
structure?
trying to pull like these little I don't know what I was categorizing those all in, but they felt right in my head. So the third one had a colon.
The third one did have a colon.
That one's real. We know that. I know that for a fact.
Spaghetti.
So I'm going between the first 2. The 5-second rule validity, and this is supposed to be a dissertation.
Yes.
Oh no, that's the fake one. Guaranteed it. Next question. Move on to Taylor.
Unfortunately,
Dang it!
it's not guaranteed. The fake paper topic was in the Journal of Experimental Zoology, insect debris and
The colon.
automobiles.
It gets you.
I thought the
The-
colon.
Insect debris and automobiles was it was almost a gamble because this is something we talk about a lot on the 4th floor and
Insect debris on automobiles, or
automobiles.
in?
On,
Okay.
and it was a callback to those who pay a lot of attention to our episodes, which I suppose Joey would be since he hasn't been here for any of them. I'm glad he got that one. Moving on.
So I got it wrong.
You did get it wrong.
That's because okay. Keep going.
We're at 0 all. I have rescinded your -1 point.
Thanks.
We're at 0 all. I think there's a tiebreaker round incorporated in this. For full disclosure, we did sort of farm out or contract this round of trivia to our co-host Claire. So
Appreciate it, Claire.
thanks for that.
She gave us the thumbs up.
Taylor.
Yeah.
3 paper topics. They are an analysis of the forces required to drag sheep over various surfaces, chemical investigations of a bronze statue that fails to attract pigeons, and the effects of feeding gum to pigeons.
2 pigeons.
Yeah, 2
Oh.
pigeons papers.
2 pigeons in one.
Does that mean they're both real, or is that too much pigeons and one of them's fake? Who knows? I know, but you don't.
So I'm trying to think of when anyone would ever need to know the differences in dragging sheep across surfaces.
Mhm.
Because sheep can walk.
Can
sheep,
they?
sheep can walk.
You don't need to drag
that
them.
confirmed?
What do you call a sheep that with no legs?
A sheep,
sheep.
that can't
Ground
walk.
ground
Ground sheep.
Ground
No.
sheep.
Nice. Okay. How much does it take to drag them
Mhm.
across?
This is like a
surfaces?
frictional analysis. Though.
Yeah, have
This
you never
is a-
seen those, like, what is it, Serta
scientific
mattresses?
thing.
They have a lot of sheep going there, you know? You know,
Yeah.
Serta
Do you think they?
mattresses?
You got to make sure they're smooth enough to roll out of bed. And
But
so
yeah,
you
but,
drag
like,
drag a sheep.
A little bit enough friction so that like cover stays on.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you trying?
I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just
You're
trying to
trying to
explain to you why
influence
this
my
paper
answer.
Playing devil's advocate here.
Trying to influence my answer.
I'm just trying to play the game.
I'm feeding pigeons gum.
Mm-hmm.
Who does
The
that?
effects of feeding gum to pigeons.
That's the.
This could
I'm
be like an ecological thing.
I'm gonna go with that one
That you're saying that's
No.
the fake? No, maybe.
because there's gum on the ground. Pigeons can eat it, so maybe people are concerned about that.
Well, to be fair, this paper isn't about pigeons finding gum on the ground. It is
Well, feeding it,
feeding
but
gums to pigeons.
How would they measure people or pigeons finding gum on the ground? You
Oh,
know, like
yeah.
just
Mm.
put gum on the ground and hope a pigeon eats it.
Maybe the lack of ability
I'm gonna.
to do this.
Okay,
experiment.
wait. What was the bronze statue one?
The is a chemical investigation of a bronze statue that fails to attract pigeons.
I'll go with that one.
That's the fake?
Yeah,
Oh, Taylor. I think you're going to beat yourself up for this one.
it's a gum one.
It was the effects of feeding gum to pigeons. That was the fake study.
Ugh.
And we have
Me.
I was so excited. I was like, for the first time in history, we got a trivia question right.
And then there's only 3 questions.
Here
correct?
we are.
And unfortunately not. So we're going to Oh, wait.
This is what happens when you second guess yourself. There's
Mhm.
a lesson buried here.
I didn't second guess myself, and I still got it wrong. So,
Don't second guess yourself.
To force a tiebreaker or to take it all, our final round of questions for
let's
Joey.
see.
Our 3 paper topics are: will humans swim faster or slower in syrup? The effects of country music on suicide, and analysis of attempts to 3D print gelatinous foods. Which one's the fake?
Is it gelatinous?
What gelatinous?
The
3D
food.
printer material?
I thought it would be gelatinous.
Oh.
Okay, the
Either way.
first 2 both seem made up. But man, who sets out and says, I'm really curious how country music affects suicide? Was that it, or did I just totally botch it?
Yeah,
Is
that
it-
was that's
alright.
the paper topic.
And then the
or maybe
first
a
one
non-paper topic.
Was
I don't
about,
know.
will
Maybe
humans
not.
swim faster in syrup?
Yeah,
That's the
faster
full
or
que-
slower.
Really? That's almost like too bad of a topic to say.
I
Claire,
cannot,
are you thinking really smart today? Like,
I cannot confirm nor
Gelatinous.
deny whether these people's papers were well received. They
Oh,
might be
I can-
bad papers.
oh my goodness gracious. And they're like published on the internet
Yeah.
too, which means they had some level of pride going into them.
And like readily findable as well. These are popular enough that a few minutes of Googling will find them.
You know, like that 5-second rule, I really thought, because you know the 5-second rule's not real, but the food's good, so you pick it up and eat it anyway. Oh my god.
You heard it here first, folks. Food is good.
So 3D printed gelatinous. You got
Gelatinous, I think, is what we've come down on.
gelatinous. You got country music and suicide. Or
Mhm.
the syrup one is the big toss-up for me, because if you think about it, that's such a dumb question. We know it's
Yep.
slower. There isn't. You can't write a paper. The whole answer is faster or slower. It's slower. There's no.
But like
But you have to
In the
confirm
syrup, right.
this.
when you like go to swim through the syrup, you get more force pushing on the
Oh,
syrup.
don't
than
give
through
me
water.
this. It's thicker.
I
Don't.
could see where this paper is going. You know, maybe
Ooh, does that
it's-
imply that it's a real paper?
Oh my God,
or
you're
am I
right.
just trying to cheat and throw people off?
There's 2 real ones in there.
Who knows?
The country music and effect of suicide. Oh, can I see your Spotify account to see what she listens to or something?
I don't think so. No real-time fact checking.
All right,
on
one
this
more
debate.
time. Read the Jello one again.
It is analysis of attempts to 3D print gelatinous foods.
I set off the rip before the question started. I'm gonna go with C, so I'm going with C. The Jello one's the fake one.
For the first time in What's on the Fourth Floor history, we have guessed correctly.
Yes.
The third one was, in fact, the fake one every single time.
Every time? You
If-
didn't.
unless-
I just thought you would switch them around.
Well, maybe I knew you would think that.
I don't think you did.
I didn't. But that's okay. Well,
Oh
we had a
boy.
tiebreaker round, but there is no tie, and we are massively over time for this segment. So unfortunately,
apologize.
Taylor,
Oh yeah.
there is no time for a comeback.
Can we just hear the last 3 that are real?
Okay, yeah. So we have several. This was going to be maybe a multi-round. I'm going to read off a bunch of real. I just need to read off the reels, I think. The possible pain experienced during execution by different methods.
Oh jeez.
Internal
explain
pressure
that?
of penguins for achieving necessary distance diffraction? Defecation. Okay. Tumbling toast, Murphy's Law, the fundamental constants, how often toast falls on the butter side up.
But really, you had to think of the syrup one. I'm just going.
What?
So
The
those-
tumbling
right.
toast.
Those were our reels.
I'm
for the
gonna
next
read that
round.
paper.
I'm gonna read the syrup one, and it's gonna be a sentence.
But congratulations, Joey, our new
Appreciate it.
host, taking it a handy lead in our trivia round. Well done. And with that, listeners, you've been listening to What's on the Fourth Floor. But what is on the fourth floor?
It's a bunch of pigeons eating gum,
I
and no
imagine-
one's studying it.
Yeah, and there's toasters everywhere, just shooting
Just
toast. into the
shooting
air.
toast
Someone's
with
studying
butter already on
syrup,
it.
like,
It's like it's a well choreographed sort of orchestral music.
Oh, like
Hello? If you're still here, it's because you're looking for more. If that's the case, check us out on Facebook at What's on the Fourth Floor and Twitter at OnFloor4. Again, that's Facebook, What's on the Fourth Floor, Twitter at OnFloor4. That's at OnFloor, the number 4.